Hi, this is Caitlin,
And I'm Gabry.
and welcome back to AvengeGirls and Friends.
Today we are talking about Iron Man, and unfortunately, we do not have our Iron Man with us today. Um,
Colton.
Colton, this is something we should have expected, though, so
It's
no
pretty
worries.
typical.
It's okay. He actually, that's very in character with Tony Stark, so we'll let him slide on this one.
Yeah, but he is a very busy neuroscience uh what's this
Person.
grad student?
Yeah.
That's what it's called when you continue to go to school. Um and he thought that he would have time to like commit more to this specific episode, but it's the holiday season. He's busy, unfortunate. But we do have Colton actually sent us like a 12-minute sound bite. And since it's so long, we actually weren't expecting it to be as long as it was. So since it's so long, we're going to react to it in like parts. So we've, talked about and analyzed different parts of the movie, and then I will, edit in Colton's parts later, and we'll react to them if that makes sense. You guys will see in, like
You'll figure
five.
it out. You're smart.
Um,
So here he is.
Here's Colton in his own words.
All right, testing. Hello. Um, okay, so this is uh cool. All right. This is Colt. Hi everybody. Hello. This is Colton. Colton Parker. Hi. And all right. Um so Iron Man apparently is a movie uh, made by Marvel Studios in the year of our Lord 2008, and it's all right. It's a okay film. I had took some notes on it when I watched it. I watched it for the first time um about a week ago and week and a half. It was all right. I wasn't thrilled necessarily with the whole thing. Um, One thing that I thought about it that I wrote down, the whole movie was like the wet dream of some like 14-year-old tech worshipping, like, kind of kid, teenage boy who thinks that Elon Musk is like the second coming of Jesus and that kind of thing. I mean that kind of person. That the movie was totally catered to that sort of thing.
Where was Elon Musk in 2008?
He exists in
I
2008.
was like, was he even a real person then? I'm not
Just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know.
Doubtful.
So, yeah, like what was he doing? But if he had been around at that time, I
Hmm.
think absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, I try to not think about Elon Musk too much though. So,
Usually. But that's like why like Colton is so right in that,
that's true.
because this movie is definitely it was like the first, I think, well done like comic book movie, you know what I mean? And I think they did try to cater to that type of audience, and it just so happened that it worked out well enough that, everyone in America and the world loved it.
Right. Was this
Um,
this was before the revelation that women and people that are not cisgender men like comics? This was
yes,
before
yeah.
that revelation.
This was,
So they
the
felt that they
whiny
needed to
white
care
boys.
they felt that they needed to cater to the white tech nerd group, I
Yeah,
guess.
the white boy tier group. Yeah,
Fools.
it's true. And I don't like it. And it makes like I feel like a lot of my notes for, Iron Man, I kept being like, in retrospect, this is blank.
Yeah.
Um, like this is racist, this is sexist. And
Yeah.
it was a movie of 2008, and at the time it was really good, but now that we know better,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people let their nostalgia blind them.
Right.
And maybe their love for Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is a very popular character.
Right. I think something that I figured out in the course of watching this movie and talking about this movie is that my fondness for Tony Stark really lies more in the fandom interpretation of him than the
That,
actual interpretation of him.
yes.
So I can kind of easily separate those two. So like I don't look with as much nostalgia on the Iron Man movies. So like I can say I
That's fair.
still enjoy it, but I can very easily point out like all the problem spots
Yeah.
at the same time.
And like in IRL canon, Tony Stark's defense, I think he does grow as a character throughout, Iron Man 2, Avengers, Iron Man 3, all those movies. He does. He becomes a more complex, nuanced character who attempts to grow and learn from his mistakes. But
Right, because like
yeah,
obviously this
it's
is
the beginning. It
this is the
is the beginning.
origin story.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's nowhere to go but up from here.
Anyway,
Right. Do you want
where
to start out? Because my first comment is about the soundtrack and nothing important at all.
well, that's pretty important. I also have a comment about the soundtrack.
Okay, mine was verbatim. This is what I wrote down.
Okay, okay.
The most rockin' soundtrack, at least until Guardians of the Galaxy came out.
It's true, 100% true. Though what
Yes.
I had written down was, ugh, the music, Tony's mind. It's true. It's supposed to be his iPod playlist or whatever, right? Kind of. That's kind of the
Yeah,
vibe I
sure.
got from half of it. It's his like favorite music,
Yeah.
and I think what's the first song that he plays when he's in? See, I don't know like classic rock music, but when he's like kind of like dancing back and forth, um, working on the Iron Man suit for the first time.
Yeah, I know a lot of it is AC/DC, but I
Yeah,
can't remember the specific songs.
that's
I'll look them up. Keep
okay.
talking.
But that specific song, so good. That like sets. I feel like that sets the mood for the whole movie, and also just really informs a lot of Tony's personality outside of his, to quote Avengers, billionaire playboy philanthropist
Yeah.
persona. He's
No,
also
it
just
totally does.
like a dork who dances in his garage to AC/DC.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Okay, so it looks like oh my God.
Is it
Did you
AC/DC?
know that AC/DC is from Australia?
Wait, what?
I had no idea.
What do you mean it's from? Really?
I Googled Iron Man soundtrack AC/DC and it comes
What?
up Iron Man 2 soundtrack. Iron Man 2 is a soundtrack album by Australian hard rock band AC/DC. Oh my God.
Who's the lead singer? I
I'm
thought it was like, wait, if I say this and I'm completely wrong, it's gonna be embarrassing. But
This
Ozzy
is gonna be
Osbourne.
hilarious.
Wait,
Oh God.
what's Ozzy Osbourne from?
No, I
Wait,
don't think so.
what
We're
band is
just
he
showing
in?
our ignorance. This is hilarious. Okay, Malcolm and Angus Young are the
Oh,
founders.
I really know nothing about AC/DC then, I guess. That's fine.
Me neither. I mean,
It's
that's
fine.
hilarious. I love it. Okay,
Anyway, okay, so that scene of him, dancing or whatever in his garage, and then you contrast that. It's almost the same. It is the same type of music with him in the very beginning. Um, that I love that it starts kind of in media res, where
yeah.
that's like such a good storytelling tool. It's one of my favorite like tropes actually. But besides that, that music that starts, it introduces like two sides of Tony almost like this is my like front like piece, yo. But then at the same time, he's also just this complete dork.
Oh no, and I feel like you've mentioned that before, but I think it
Yeah.
was more of like the front slash the trauma, but that was something that came up later. So
So that opening scene, he's like, yeah, peace, I love peace, throw up the peace sign or whatever. And then he bonds with those kids, and then they all die right in front of him
mhm.
in a war zone. And he obviously, almost dies and barely survives. But I feel like that scene, that experience, like immediately shows him like the horrors of war,
Mhm.
that he hadn't really firsthand, or I don't think he had hadn't firsthand experience before then. So I feel like even if he hadn't been kidnapped or like kind of forced into becoming Iron Man so quickly, he still would have changed his ways maybe, or like began to rethink things.
I think at the very least he would have
Yeah.
started to go home and rethink his life.
Yeah.
Like,
not maybe as dramatically
or
but
as immediately, but
yeah,
I think he probably would have gone about it in a slower way.
Yeah.
And
it would be bad knowing how Obadiah is.
Yeah, right. There are two ways that could go.
Yeah.
If they hadn't moved as quickly, maybe Obadiah wouldn't have tried to kill him.
Mm.
But maybe if they hadn't moved as quickly, Stain would have talked him out of it.
Or tried to kill him again, right? Because didn't he order the hit on him in the first place?
That's true. Or he would have talked him out of it.
True. And then try to kill him quickly.
Had to.
Yeah.
Well, no,
true.
He was already planning.
He was still gonna, so he would have. He would have still killed him.
Why though?
So it had to happen this way, basically, because otherwise, in every other scenario, Tony Stark dies because he doesn't have a way to defend himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically. Man, thank God those kids died.
No, that's terrible.
Sorry, everyone.
She doesn't mean it like that.
I'm joking.
We're just flippant bastards.
It's true. That's why I think the beginning is so effective. Is like you see him like chilling, and then those kids die. I mean, they're not kids, but they're kids to him, kind of. I would assume.
Yeah, he's definitely older than them. They would definitely be considered. I mean, I call you kid.
I call everyone my age and younger kid.
Yeah, and you are my age and younger.
Yeah. Oh, so. Hey. By like 3 weeks. Listen.
Worth it.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Sure.
And I don't know how far in. I can't remember how far into the movie this was.
Okay.
But do we ever find out how Obadiah Stane met Howard Stark?
That's a good question.
That in the movie. I couldn't figure out if I missed it.
It might have been like a throwaway comment. Because I think they worked on the bomb together, or is that wrong?
I totally don't remember because if it was in the movie, it just was right past me. I was like, why does he even know him?
They Tony's known him since he was a kid at the very least, if not since he was born. So I would assume through work.
Okay.
But I don't know what work, because obviously I feel like Howard has kind of done a bunch of different things. I'm never 100% sure what Howard Stark does. That's a good question though. I don't know. I definitely through work somehow. And I think, well, I'm not sure if this is just like a fanfic thing or if they actually mention it in the movie itself, but in fanfic a lot, Tony refers to Obadiah as like an uncle almost,
Yeah. And I definitely got that vibe.
Yeah. Especially if he has known him since he was a kid or since birth. And that just makes that betrayal so much worse.
Yeah. That
scene is a great scene. When, Tony gets, I think, like a call from Pepper, and he's sitting in his home and he's relaxing, and Obadiah comes and puts that paralysis thing on him.
Oh yeah.
And basically just whispers his betrayal, sweet nothings into his ear. It's so sad.
No, you're right. That is what they are.
Yeah, and it's so heartbreaking because Tony loved and trusted this man, and in the he didn't even have any inkling. You know what I mean?
No, there are no indications.
No. I also have a note that says, "No offense, but thank God for Don Cheadle."
I know.
So a mean-ish quote. Wait, what's his name? I don't even know his name because he's not a major part of the MCU. But he's not as good a roadie. Don Cheadle embodies that I'm his best friend, and I'm so exasperated with his bullshit kind of attitude.
Because I have a comment about Rhodey, which is Rhodey, how do you do it?
How does Rhodey do it?
Because Tony in this first movie, and I think this was when I can't remember when in the movie I wrote that down, but it was 100%
in response to Tony doing something.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it might have even been before the is it IED? Is that what it's called? The IED went off in front of the car.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it might have been before that.
Yeah.
He's talking about like, this is the party car or whatever.
There's that line that happens, I think, after Rhodey like saves Tony, where he's like, "Next time you ride with me," and I was like, "No, next time you don't, because then Rhodey would die, and I can't have Rhodey die."
Yeah.
Rhodey would have died, cats.
That's a good
Could you
point.
imagine if Rhodey was in the party car or the fun car, or whatever it's called, with the kids and Tony? That's a horrific alternate. We're just talking about alternate universes in this episode.
Oh my god, poor Tony.
Like,
Oh
what
god,
if
that
things
would.
were
Do you know how
worse?
bad that would mess him up?
It would fuck him up a lot.
Like
Yeah.
he'd have Obadiah kind of because he's evil, and he'd have like Pepper, but that's it. Like that's it. That's literally it. That's so sad.
Counterpoint: he wouldn't live enough to,
That's true.
because Obadiah would still try to kill him.
Right.
But,
Good point. We talked about that.
but no, you're right. It would just be a horrific, sequence of events. This episode is like, what if things were worse for Tony?
Wow, we're so mean.
I'm sorry.
Is that some kind of subliminal thing I have going on? I don't know. But I feel like I'm feeling more sympathetic toward him as we talk about this, so it's working.
Yeah. Tony Stark's life, and I think I kind of mentioned this in the Captain America episode, but it was, we're talking about Cap then, not Tony.
Yeah.
So I will reiterate here. I feel like Tony has gone through a lot of shit in his life and continually sacrifices himself for the good of others. And I just need him, and I need Marvel to give him a break in Avengers 4.
I think we did talk about this. We were like,
did,
we said let Steve have a break, but also let Tony have a break.
Yeah.
They both need it.
They both deserve a
100%.
very long, beautiful break. Not that, like, all of the Avengers don't deserve a break, but I feel like specifically Tony and Steve, they've been at this for so long and are so tired and old. They are. In different ways, but they are.
Yes.
Oh, I had another note I had was, again, we watched this like too long ago and are talking about it too far after.
It was literally 14 days ago that I watched it because my notes say November 10th.
That's like a year.
Listen, in retail time, that's easily a year.
But I had written down
hashtag shop small.
I had written down Da Vinci of Our Time versus the Merchant of Death, which are Tony's two nicknames.
Yes.
From the media to him.
Yes.
Not by other people. And I just think that juxtaposition is so interesting. Because he's kind of both. I mean, I know he stops his death dealings, as it were. But just the like Merchant of Death versus Da Vinci of Our Time. That is such it's almost like a beautiful juxtaposition that one person, depending on what side of things you're looking at, can be viewed in two completely different ways and not at all as like one person. Like I'm sure the people who call him the, Da Vinci of our time don't even like, they're like on Obadiah's side. Yeah. But they don't see like the horrors of what he's doing versus like Christine Everhart's kind of side of thing where she's like, you're the Merchant of Death, Tony, and a hypocrite. Also, can we talk about Christine Everhart for a hot second, by the way?
Sure.
Okay. So Christine Everhart is the reporter who, in the very beginning, she like...
For a second, I was like, who the hell was that? And then I used context clues.
Sorry, I should have. It's sad because she like plays, and I think it's such a pivotal role in the movie, like so subtly, but she's just reduced.
Point.
She's reduced to a joke.
Of that. Yeah, and I won't lie. I love that joke because it's such a good dig.
I know it's such a good dig, and I
feel bad
like,
though
because there are some like very high key casual sexism with Christine Everhart's character.
Yeah,
she is portrayed as this like beautiful, confident, competent woman journalist. Mm-hmm. She's getting to like the heart of the matter. She's right. She's 100% right about what Tony's doing.
Yeah, and she is, and she went to like a really good school. I can't remember which one it was. Was it Brown?
It was one of the Ivy League schools. Yeah. Just smart woman. She's incredibly intelligent.
Apparently super good at her job.
And then immediately it's reduced to, you're just another woman who Tony slept with, and let me take out the trash. And I'm like, makes me like Pepper less, which is sad because I love Pepper.
Yeah.
Don't stop pitting women against women, Marvel.
2K forever.
Please. I know this was before like the modern advent of the Me Too movement, but come on.
Come on.
Feminism
So
still existed in 2008.
my next comment was, why are men so bad at remembering birthdays? Why is that a thing?
Okay. No, that's what I was gonna say. I was
Are you
like,
serious?
no,
Okay,
well,
good.
it's related to that. I was gonna say,
Okay.
continuing about Pepper, is that in this movie specifically, I understand it later on, but in this movie, I never understood it like Pepper and Tony. It just never like he treats her like shit, and then suddenly he sees her in like a dress that like a backless dress, and she's beautiful, and he's suddenly like, oh, I'm interested in you, and she's the one in the awkward position
because
she is
BS.
yeah. She works. He's literally her boss, and he's just like, "No, you're fine. This is fine. It's fine." I was like, "Shut the fuck up, Tony!"
Like, you can't say that. Stop.
You literally can't.
There is a huge power imbalance there. Yeah. Like, what the hell?
So as much as
it's already very obvious that she's into him, but
yeah, of course. But at the same
isn't
time,
willing to do anything about it because of that.
See, I love Tony Stark and I love this movie, but that's like one thing that I'm like, wow, that really kind of dates the movie. Yeah. Like in 2008, I was graduating middle school and I was just starting high school.
Yeah.
And at that time, like this type of like criticism and analysis wasn't even on my radar. You know what I mean?
No, not even.
I was a young little baby who didn't know anything. And in retrospect, again, 10 years later, I'm like, damn, I love Tony and I love this movie. Like, it's a good movie. But in terms of like feminism and this casual sexism it employs, not good. Really bad, actually. Not okay.
Absolutely.
Colton actually put it a really nice way.
Yeah, in a really sophisticated way.
The woman that lives with him and works for him and is also like his, like, she's every like miserable stereotype of a flat, like, one-dimensional woman character. Like, she's simultaneously his mother and his like lover and his servant, and he just is totally above it all.
So yeah, he's like 100% right. I mean, I love the way that he put it in that like she's simultaneously his mother, lover, and servant. Like the three pillars.
Oh, the three pillars of the patriarchy, you mean, basically? That's I feel like that's what that is.
That's what every woman what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, are you thinking about the virgin whore dichotomy?
Yes.
Okay, because I was actually thinking, no, that's a good one too, because it definitely applies. I'm thinking of more like the maiden mother crone and how that easily could be superimposed on top of mother, lover, servant, crone, servant. Lover is maiden, mother is mother, obviously.
That's true. That's better, arguably, since there's three little categories that Colton came up with. But I do feel like a lot of female characters, I mean, from this time period, still to this day, it's now really just recently changing. They do get boiled down to those
singular elements
often all at once. Yeah. And Pepper definitely fits them. And that's why, like I was saying before, she's been put in such an awkward position. The fact that that man is her boss.
Mm-hmm.
She may be attracted to him. I mean, obviously she is. Doesn't matter. Like, and she continues to be his like servant. Here I am using Colton's terms. Like she continues to be his servant / employee throughout most of it. And I mean, she eventually becomes like CEO of. Or is that a fan thing? I'm not actually sure.
No, I want to say he puts her in charge, doesn't he?
I think he does. So eventually that happens, and that makes it a little bit better because she's then more independent. But until then, it's so uncomfortable to me. Like, I could never date someone from work. That's just so, especially someone in power at work.
Yeah, that would not end well. We'll have to look back at what we said about her here when if we talk about her in the subsequent Iron Man movies. Because she does develop.
She, like Tony, also develops. And I think it is kind of like an evolution of the time. Like, I was actually talking to my mom about this earlier today. Spoilers for, or possible spoilers for Avengers 4. I know obviously the movie isn't out yet, but it has been leaked, like leaked toy designs and leaked art, and also Gwyneth Paltrow accidentally posted a picture
Well,
that
then
could
in
be,
that case,
yeah, yeah. So, but Pepper Potts is probably going to suit up in a suit of like an Iron Man, Iron Woman suit of her own in Avengers 4.
that's awesome.
And yeah, and my mom and I were talking earlier today about how like in the big, in Iron Man, she has this like very sexist role where again she's reduced to these
Assistant position.
exactly
Yeah.
mother lover servant, to use Colton's very well worded comment. But then by Infinity War, by Avengers 4, she's the CEO of the company and she is highly independent. She is apparently going to be a superhero in her own right. You know what I mean? Like that is such a better trajectory for her character. And I'm glad that she got there eventually. And I would love to see her, and I hope they do like an all-female Avengers team up one day because that's like my dream movie, like an A-Force A-Force movie,
Okay, but I want
right?
to see Singularity on the big screen so bad. Like
Hey,
I've never read Air Force, but listen, Singularity. Think
listen,
about it, Marvel.
Marvel, if you're out there, I'm available to play Singularity. I love space. My Twitter handle is Space Machin, which means space girl.
And her
Just
girlfriend's
saying,
the moon.
my girlfriend's the moon. Just saying, consider it, you know? I'm in love with space, so I should be space, aka Singularity. Anyways, that was a very bad tangent. Cast me, I don't act. But anyways, I want an A-Force movie, and I think Pepper. It would be cool to have Pepper as Rescue, which is her superhero name.
Right.
Pepper as Rescue in a movie like that. Even if we only get her an A4, like that's amazing.
Right.
I talked about this in I think probably in more detail than I should have in the Captain America episode, but it's fine. I love both Tony and Steve. But Yinsen's his whole like when he does die and he tells Tony like don't waste it. Just to reiterate from episode 1, I feel that line, like I said before, really in my mind defines the entire rest of Tony's journey through the MCU. Um,
And
in this movie
okay,
specifically.
that's not where I thought you were going with that. I thought you were going where it kind of parallels what Stanley Tucci's character
Oh,
does
Stanley
with
Tucci hard
Steve.
eyes.
They're in like literally in the same
Yeah,
positions. Well,
yeah. But so yeah, so it's literally the same thing. It's a complete parallel. And I like to think, because I have an agenda, that they did do it on purpose to compare and contrast Tony with Steve, because that to me is the central relationship throughout the current MCU for the past 10 years, and what has driven a lot of like everything
right.
in it has been their relationship. Oh, I don't know if I know enough to speak on this necessarily because I mean we were both fairly young when like 9/11 happened. I have a memory of it, but still I
Yeah.
was young. But I feel like this movie, like rewatching it, I always think like, man, it was really like capitalizing on the fear of terrorism in America during the early and late 2000s. Like even in 2008, like still everyone was like really freaked out about the Middle East.
That's only
Like
that's not even a decade
yeah.
after
And
it
it's a bit
happened.
better
So
now, but like the villains, at least at first, you think, oh, it's not Obadiah. They're Middle Easterners. They're the villains. Tony's
yeah,
got to go kill the Middle Easterners. I'm like, in retrospect again, kind of playing
yeah,
into a not so fun stereotype.
no.
But that aside, again, I don't know how much we can really speak to that because
Yeah, because again, like
you were
like what, like
babies
7? Yeah, 7, something like that.
in
And I yeah, and I haven't read enough about like I'm sure there are people who've done way more insightful critiques about that than
than
me.
us.
So
Yeah. Colton also had something similar to say. So here here he is.
Also, here's another issue that I have. The I mean, okay, the movie reeks of 2008. And by that I mean it's like racist. Like the villains in the first half of the movie pretty much, and well actually the for pretty much the whole movie, the bad guys are this like nondescript mm, group of Afghanis. I think they're in Afghanistan, of Afghanis. It's like militant group that like what have they done in the movie? If you really like pay attention to the movie, the only thing that these people have done to like cue you in that they're bad people, the only thing that they've done is be Afghani people or like be non-white people with guns. Like that's all that they're doing, really. From the get-go. Like that's all from the very beginning, that's all you know about them. Later there's more development, maybe, I guess, they do more bad things and it's like, oh, they're bad people now. Okay, fine, whatever. That's its own bag of worms. But, you know, they from the very beginning of the movie, you're just supposed to believe that they're bad because they're brown people that have guns and you're just supposed to think, oh, well, they're bad people then. And that's kind of uh like a weird assumption to make, I think. And I don't know, like I'm sure there's a lot that could be unpacked there. And on the one hand, yes, there are extremist groups in the world, but you're really playing on stereotypes, and that's not good. That's in fact bad. I would go so far as to say.
So yeah, he's right in that like the only reason why, at least in the very beginning, we view them as villains is because
That's how they're presented to
yeah,
us. We're
well,
not given an
because
option.
yeah, they're Middle Easterners, so they automatically Middle Easterners with guns, so they automatically must be villains. That's like the only way that they're coded as villains,
Yep.
Like other like Obadiah, for example, is coded as a villain because he's kind of creepy and he, does subtle things and he without telling Tony and
He's got the weird Jeff Bridges mouth.
he's Jeff Bridges' mouth. But those are things that, you can code a villain that way. So the audience knows that he's a villain or they're a villain. And later on, obviously Tony's also kidnapped and that's another thing, but that same group eventually like is kidnapping those people or whatever. We're not actually sure. We're not sure what they're gonna do to those people, but Tony goes in assuming, and the audience therefore assumes that they're gonna kill those people. And I would say that they probably are because I think isn't like that's what happened to Yinsen's family.
Yeah,
like, they were killed.
I want to say that's a safe
Yeah.
bet.
But again, like up until that part, like the entire opening scene until Tony becomes Iron Man, Colton's right. Like they're Middle Easterners, they're brown people with guns, and the movie wants us to see them as villains, so we do.
Bad.
As Colton said, that is in fact bad. I would go so far as to say. Speaking of Yinsen, you know who they should bring back for Avengers 4 instead of Howard Stark, like is rumored?
Who?
Yinsen.
Oh, I thought it was going somewhere. I in retrospect, I walked right into that one, but I don't know why.
Just playing along for the
I
audience.
thought you were playing a trick on me, and you were gonna go somewhere else. No, him and let him and Erskine team up. That would be sweet.
That would be really cool, actually, to have like Erskine and
very smart.
Just imagine, again, this is pure conjecture, but imagine like Yinsen and Erskine coming back as mentor, or not like actual mentors, but like kind of ghostly apparitions for.
You just want them to be Force ghosts.
I want them to be Force ghosts.
That'd be so cool, though.
I also think it's very. Sorry, not to just like get back to like serious talks after that, but
that's okay.
Yinsen like his entire plan was to die, like the entire time. He knew that this is like what was he gonna do if he made it out? You know what I mean? Like that's sadder to me Does Tony get that sacrificial instinct partially from Yinsen, from learning from Yinsen's influence?
I don't like that you brought that to my attention.
Does Tony feel the
Quite
need
frankly.
to pay Yinsen's sacrifice by continually sacrificing himself for others?
Yeah.
I have a lot of feelings about Tony Stark.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I hate this.
It's very sad.
You have all these insightful things, and then my next one after the pacing was the cheeseburger demand, #relatable.
I mean, you're not wrong. I think that's one of the best parts of like that whole sequence in the movie is just, nope, I need a burger.
Please, God. Which, if I'm being extremely real with myself, first of all, I would be much more of a wreck than Tony is. Actually, I would probably be dead, and I probably wouldn't have come back.
You wouldn't have, yeah.
It wouldn't even matter. But for the sake of this imaginary exercise, I would be like a wreck. So I'd want to sleep, but the cheeseburger thing sounds good too. Yeah.
I'd be like, get me a Trenta pink drink. Stat.
Yes. That's exactly what would happen. It'd be like, Caitlin, while you were gone, they discontinued the pink drink.
No! So, I believe this is another quote from Yinsen, where he calls Tony the man who has everything and the man who has nothing, right? Clearly, the only acceptable end to Tony's story is to become a man who has nothing and yet everything, aka isn't a superhero anymore, but like has everything else he needs, like friends and family and like a child and Pepper or whatever.
Happy.
Not to. This is just my like, Tony deserves to retire train and not die, but yeah. Just give him Marvel. Listen, if you're out there,
please.
And Avengers 4 does end with Tony dying, stop. End this now before it begins. It's not out yet, and it's going through editing now. They could do anything. We can reach them with this message.
We have a responsibility to try. Anyway.
Anyways. Oh, the part where I have written down, the part where like Yinsen's like face is he's about to be burned by the hot coal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like wrote down, I was like, me, the dumbass I am, would accidentally turn my face into the hot coal anyways. My bad.
I really hate to say this, but I feel like you might. On accident.
I would hurt myself.
This is coming from someone who's had so many work mishaps in the last week. Like, I keep running into poles and counters, and I cut myself twice on tape dispensers. Oh, no. It's fine.
It's fine. We're all klutzy.
So here. I can see this happening.
Yeah. From the same, well, not the same exact scene, but after the coal scene, where Tony, like, he's in that, that sleeveless shirt, the tank top, and he's banging on the metal. First of all, that's hot as fuck.
True.
Second of all, that's like, my reaction was both, that like interview with Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, where they're like being shown pictures of
everyone's arms.
Yeah, of everyone's arms. And they show the picture of RDJ's arms, and Hemsworth is like, since when? And Chris Evans just looks like he wants to take a fucking bite out of him. That was me in that moment. It was beautiful. Suddenly I understood.
I love it. My first thought when I saw that I was like, it's Hephaestus. I don't know why.
That's just true.
It was very Hephaestus-y of him. I don't know. That's it. No relevant insight.
Marvel characters as Greek gods.
Yeah.
Also, after Tony announces, we're closing the weapons portion of Stark Industries, blah, 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 there's like a bad like TMZ kind of parody report going on the background that Pepper watches. You know what I'm talking about? And in the very background, one of the things says Stark raving mad, and I was like, oh my god, it's the Stark raving hazelnuts inspiration.
What's
from Infinity War? The ice cream, Stark raving.
Yes. Oh no,
that's where they pulled it from. Stark raving hazelnuts.
Nice catch.
Thanks. I'm hyper aware during this movie because I've seen it.
Yeah.
Too many times this year. Skipping a little bit ahead to the scene where Pepper is like, she has the tiny hands and she's putting in his new arc reactor operation. Which is a funny and very cool scene, which I like. It showcases their relationship very well. But I think it's Is it Tony who says this to Pepper? Yeah, like he says, I don't have anyone but you. Like at that point of his life.
I think he did. I
Yeah.
think that was him.
Okay. And she kind of reiterates that, I think, later on in the movie where she's like, you're all I have too, when she's like
Yeah,
mad. Yeah.
yeah.
And again, like, I think my like MO throughout this entire podcast is just to like relate earlier things in the movies to what happens later on. And it
Oh
just
yeah,
breaks my heart that like I don't have anyone but you. So in this movie, all Tony has is Pepper, really, and kind of Obadiah, kind of Happy, but basically just Pepper from his own
no.
words. All I have is you. And
Yeah.
so then he gains a family in the Avengers,
Oh
and then he
no.
loses it after
Oh,
Civil
why?
War, and only has Pepper again. And then not even that, like for part of that, he doesn't actually have Pepper. I'm pretty sure they're on a break until Homecoming, I
Mm,
think.
I think that sounds right.
Something like that. But anyways, I just made myself sad. Tony Stark has lived his life alone, and then he gains this family, and then he loses it. And I'm sad. I don't think I realized how much I like love Tony until I took notes for this movie. As I also wrote down, only Tony Stark, lonely and genius, would imbue his robots and AI with personality.
That's true.
Sorry, this is just like sad Tony comment after sad Tony comment.
Sad Tony Day.
This is all my evidence for why Tony deserves a happy ending, basically. This is my manifesto.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
If I worked for Marvel, I would be on your
They'd
side.
be like, yes, we like Tony. And
Brave!
hooray!
You are brave!
Gotta get one John Mulaney joke in at
That's
least
the
every
first
episode.
one.
Jake.
So I have one thing about Stain,
Okay.
and which is the initial reveal of him trying to ice Tony out is so casual, but I think it makes it a lot better. Like I think it's when they're at the party.
Yes.
Perhaps
Yeah.
it's when they're at the party and he's like, yeah, I was the one who did blah blah blah, and it's in front of all these people so he can't react, and it's they both have to like just kind of internalize what just happened.
It's
I think that's so much
textbook.
better than if it had been a confrontation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's textbook abuser. Like,
Ooh,
100%. Especially like he's manipulated him this entire time.
yeah,
Who's to say that Tony would have, I mean, maybe Tony would have gone a different way earlier if Obadiah hadn't loomed over him after his parents' death. We don't know.
yeah.
But you're right. Like that well, our lack of confrontation is so well done.
And then my other one was about the Gold Mirror refugees
and
how they were walking out of their town.
Yeah.
And it's just I was, just kind of floored by how relevant it felt to real life at this moment.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing I can actually say about that. Just being hyper aware that it's still something going on.
Yeah. Still something important and happening.
In real life, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that moment when Tony shows up in the Iron Man suit and stops that one guy from being killed.
Yes.
I have white savior / white guilt. I'll also say that surrounding depiction feels the most realistic out of all the Avengers movies.
Agreed, yes.
I don't know why I think it feels the most realistic, and I wonder if there's some kind of unexamined like bias I have going on there that I think that's the most realistic. But
that's a good point. Do you think it's like what we were saying before, like because it's something that, I mean, our generation especially, we grew up with seeing this specific war on TV and in the media, and everyone's freaking out about the Middle East. Oh my God. And obviously it leaked into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that in our minds is so very based in realism versus we didn't grow up with World War II. All of the other ones are so much more fantastical though than this.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is why it did so well, is because outside of the realm of like, could anyone actually build a flying suit that can hold a man? Everything it's pretty real.
Yeah,
even the suit feels more real.
Yeah, all of the interactions and all of the themes of like the betrayal and questioning your own involvement in certain
Yes.
enterprises. Those are all
Yeah.
very
There are
real
questions
things that
that
people
are,
do.
yeah, there are questions that are still important today, I think. I wish a lot of business people would have the same epiphanies that Tony Stark has.
Right.
See, you have deep points too.
Hmm.
You
Yeah, but
too.
my next point was a quote from Pepper that's the I'm gonna give you the meeting of your life. She's like, come with me. We're
Oh,
gonna have our meeting right
oh,
now. We're gonna
oh,
do it right
wait.
now.
That's okay. I actually had another, like, pulling from feminist theory there. That moment always, like, it makes me, like, so sad, but also it's completely a familiar moment to me because that is 100% something that women, like, train themselves to do. Like,
Oh
if they
crap,
are
yeah, you're
aware,
right.
yeah, if they are aware of, like, a predatory man, they will surround themselves
You'll
with
find that
a
that
trusted man or a trusted
yeah.
person to protect them from that
Oh
predatory man.
shit. I
That's
didn't even
100% what she did. So she's,
yeah, she's like,
yeah,
hey, we're going
she knows that
meeting.
Obadiah is going to like figure it out quickly. So she
Yeah.
grabs Coulson. She's like, "We're going right now. I'll give you the meeting right now. We're going. Protect me," because she knows
Yeah,
that he's
holy
gonna be
crap.
able to. Yeah.
I mean,
So
like obviously, like to some level, I'm like clearly she's using him as protection, but like
yeah, but
in
like,
those terms,
yes,
I
yeah,
hadn't quite gotten there.
yeah. Um, Going back to the scene you were talking about, where he like flies into the Middle East and kills the men there, and I he really like. It's interesting how in this movie that's how he views himself as judge, jury, and executioner, right? Like
Mhm.
he has no right to fly into that zone and decide that all those men deserve to be murdered, but he does
Right.
it. And going from there versus him in Civil War, like I 100% see why he views that they need to be limited.
Hmm. Oh, I had like a thought as you were saying that about
I'm sorry, did you lose it?
it's like only half formed, but it was basically along the lines of, you know, how you were saying he decides to be judge, jury, and executioner, and he has no right to decide that the clearly, you know, attacking these people um decides to kill them. And I'm like, well, how is that? No, because it is different, but it's also not different from him helping to manufacture the weapons that have killed innocent people. So, like, why wouldn't
Exactly.
he decide that the people who are clearly doing something wrong in his eyes at that time, bam, I don't
It's
know.
the same.
I
No,
need
yeah,
to
you're right.
think that through more, but
No, I kind of like I see where you're coming from. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to make weapons anymore because they get innocent people killed." But
is it because he's there himself
and
and he
he's
can see with his
yeah,
own eyes
he's being the
what's
judge
going
and
on?
yeah. But does that make it any
Yeah,
better? I would argue no.
no,
Like he certainly had the ability to equip that suit with like tranquilizers.
right?
Didn't do
That's
that.
true. He didn't. That's a good point.
He sure did just kill all those people. Um, we didn't cover this as articulately as Colton did, I don't think, but we think it's important. So here are his thoughts.
The movie, it kind of makes itself out to be about the relationship, or it makes itself out to be about the military industrial complex and the nature of the capitalist enterprise in war, right? That's the whole kind of uh, soul of the movie, if you will. At least the way that I was watching it. But like I say that, but it's not. It's not the soul of the movie. It's nothing. Like the movie is only about that in the most superficial way possible. Like the movie doesn't actually deal with those issues at all. It just brings them up, kind of in a loose and hand wavy kind of way, you know, without really getting into those issues. It says, oh, this is a thing. And then Tony Stark kind of superficially grapples with that. But it's not interesting, and you're not seeing the that issue play out in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
I think that here's my thoughts. I think that encompasses everything that we didn't say, and so I'm gonna
True.
run with it.
Colton, we give you our stamp of approval. This is a very small aside, and I think it only happens like literally once in the movie. And I literally only realized it the last time I watched it. So I've seen this movie like dozens of times, but I
Okay.
only noticed it this last
I'm
time.
ready.
Is during that scene, he has like an Optimus Prime sounding voice on the outside. So like we usually hear Tony in the Iron Man suit, his voice like through that HUD talking to Jarvis, but we never hear what it sounds like on the outside until like in the Avengers kind of, or maybe it's Iron Man 2. I haven't watched Iron Man 2 in a long time, but we hear Tony eventually speaks through, and it's just his voice, kind of sounding mechanical, but it's his voice. It it has a voice filter as if like originally they were gonna like have him have a secret identity.
What?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because it literally only it's like one line and I was like, what the fuck?
He's all yours.
That is definitely some kind of weird Optimus Prime filter.
Yeah, it does sound different.
And that is literally the only time he sounds like that.
Yeah.
In the rest of the movies he just sounds like Tony. And it just makes me think of, you know how this is a popular story that like originally they in the comics Tony and he has a secret identity. He's not known as Iron Man. And they were going to keep it the same in this movie, and then at the end RDJ improvised that last line where he goes,
did
I am.
he?
He did, yeah. And they thought it was so good that they kept it. And it just makes me think like, is this a remnant from when he was going to have
They were
that
going
secret
along with the original plan. Okay, yeah. I could believe that.
Yeah.
I could.
And then Tony himself was like, everyone knows it's me, so I might as well get rid of the voice filter. Goodbye, Optimus.
Go. Yeah, maybe. And that would provide a convenient, like, in-universe explanation. So.
Yeah. My last note before we get to the climax. Who the fuck names their kid Obadiah?
That's a good point.
Who the fuck? Unless you're, like, going to raise a kid villain.
That's why we should have known immediately.
His name, Obadiah. Obashmaya.
Okay. So, again, and then this goes back to me, like, not knowing if I missed something, but, like, why did he want to kill Tony? I don't even know. I watched the entire movie and I'm not.
I think because did he want the company, I guess?
The whole thing, maybe?
Yeah, the whole thing. But that seems silly to me.
Seems harsh.
Seems overly harsh. Also, like, what was Obadiah's plan? Like, he was so, like, subtle the entire time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna subtly hire a hit, and then I'm gonna subtly try to do this. And then suddenly, at the very end, when he realizes he's, like, not gonna get his way, he just fucking puts on the armor and decides to go on a rampage.
Yeah,
like, what were you expecting?
He goes berserk.
Like, even if you kill Tony and get away with it, you're not gonna, like, stand up to, like, the entire world. You're not. The government is gonna do something about you. So, you know what I mean? Like, dude, what was your end game there? Like,
that part was not well thought out. Yeah, so I had why did he want to kill Tony? And I can't remember if I was asking that in the context of, like, the beginning when he hired the hitmen, or oh no, it looks like it was like just because he wanted to move away from weapons, which goes back to the whole thing we discussed at the beginning. So, like, he was gonna try to kill him either way. But then
yeah, you're right. So, like, what's the fucking point?
And then we get to the most subpar villain monologue, like, ever. I was listening to it, I was like, oh my god, who wrote this?
So is that when he's
he's in this suit, in
right.
the larger suit, and I don't know, his villain monologue was just bad. It was very clunky, and
that's fair. For a hot sec, I thought you were talking about when he, like, paralyzes Tony, because I think that whole monologue's really good.
Oh yeah, that one's great.
Yeah, that one's like a classic because it's so, like, oh, it, like, it hits you and you just feel your heart drop almost.
Yeah, no, it's the one when they're fighting around the arc reactor, because it's right before my training exercise comment. But
yeah.
I don't know. I was listening to it and I was like, this is
so
clunky and unsophisticated, and I expect more from my villains.
Yeah, I don't even remember. That's how bad that was.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie so many times and I don't even remember the monologue.
That says it
or
all,
that
I guess.
he had a monologue. So you're right. That's all I have to say. So when he's like getting ready and Pepper's doing his makeup or whatever for his like press conference, yeah. They give like Coulson gives him like the cards to read that he eventually throws out, but he's reading them, and this just goes along with the theory that like they really were originally going to have him have a secret identity, because he reads out loud, I'm pretty sure, like, Iron Man's my bodyguard. They're not going to believe this bullshit or something like that, and that's literally what it is.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I was just like, man, they really were originally going to. Could you imagine like how different the MCU would have turned out if Iron Man in the very first movie hadn't been I Am Iron Man? Like, completely different kind of.
He
would have been so much more a Bruce Wayne instead of.
Oh, thank God. You know what? No, thank God they didn't do that. No. Plus, like, that we would have been denied an iconic film ending.
True. Oh my God. I remember seeing this in theaters, and when that ending, holy shit! Like the entire theater was like,
which is so dramatic because we knew the whole time. Why did we gasp?
I know, but like we suddenly are like, we're the audience, or who he's talking to. You know what I mean? Yes, like we are transposed. Okay. We're like, oh my God, he just did it. We knew this the entire time, but yeah.
Tony, you skank. You can't just tell people that you're Iron Man.
Like
Phil Coulson's actual reaction to that. Or better yet, Nick Fury's actual reaction to that is, Tony, you skank. Why'd you do that?
Oh my God. One more thing before we totally wrap it up. Do you remember our are they a hero criteria from the first time? So I have
vaguely.
I wrote it down, don't worry.
Okay,
are they happy? What do they sacrifice, and what makes them a hero?
Oh yes, right. We were gonna do that for all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they
happy? No.
No.
I mean, maybe.
I think he puts on a front that he's happy. I don't think this movie is very sad.
You don't believe he's truly contented.
Yeah. Exactly. What do they sacrifice? He tries to sacrifice his life routinely. Yeah. In this movie he does. I mean, I guess he also sacrifices his reputation, but that's not as fun to say.
No.
What makes him a hero? I think it does root back to that, to his morals and his.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in this context, it at the very least puts him on the path towards being a hero, that he chooses to recognize his faults and potentially grow.
And learning from them. Yeah.
On a step towards that.
Yeah, agreed. He is, I mean, in the context of this movie, obviously this movie is selling him as a hero to us. But I think in Tony's grand arc, he's not, like you said, he's not quite there yet. He is working tirelessly to get there, but he's not 100% there yet. Is that unfair to say?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So even though we were fairly convinced that Iron Man is on track to actually become a hero, Colton did not buy it for 1 second.
He's such a smug asshole, and he sucks, and he's not a hero.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Our very own Tony Stark Iron Man does not like Tony Stark Iron Man.
Which I find hilarious. Absolutely.
It's so funny because when Colton was like, he's such a smug asshole, I was like, yeah, like you.
I'm pretty sure we called him that for a lot of freshman year.
I feel like that was our tag on Tumblr for Colton, our freshman year. It was smug asshole.
I think it might have been, actually.
And here he is using that term for I just think it's funny. And he's
at least he's self-aware.
Well, I don't even know if it's sorry, Colton, when you listen to this. But he's using it as an insult. To Colton's credit, I don't think he's necessarily a smug asshole nowadays. Back in college, I called him that all the time because we fought all the time.
Yeah. Now they're best friends.
Yeah. Fun story. Well, not going to tell you now because this podcast is already too long. But yeah, Colton and I used to basically hate each other, even though we were like friends. It was that weird dynamic. And now I don't know why or how we got here, but we're like best friends forever, BBFFs. So the end of what Colton sent us is really, really funny, I think. um, and yeah, it speaks for itself. Um,
Absolutely.
so here we go. The
I think it
truth
says
comes
everything
out.
it needs to.
That's all I can think of. All in all, Iron Man sucks ass. Like, just lousy all around. The movie, character, okay. And I'm all right, fine. Hey, all right, I'm just talking about the movie and the way that he comes across there. And for the record, full disclosure, I have not seen other Marvel movies at all. I saw the first Avengers, and I saw Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2, which are some of the greatest movies that I think have ever been made. Um, just because they were funny, and I thought that was fun. And I saw Guardians of the Galaxy too, but to be honest, I'm not even sure that it's a Marvel movie. I think it is. And oh, I saw Black Panther too. That was good. That was pretty good. I think that's Marvel too. It's in the same universe. Anyways, the point of the story is there's more Iron Man movies. I haven't seen those. There's a lot of other movies that I haven't seen and I haven't read any of the comic books either. So, okay, fine. Yeah, you got me there too. Um, all in all, though, face value, watch the movie, character, story, all that. You've heard my thoughts. I didn't like it for a number of reasons. So, yeah, that does it. That does it for me. Signing out.
Nerd.
Yeah, nerd. I love that he claims Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2 as some of the best movies that have ever been made. I'm not arguing with him,
It's
but
because
I
they're
just think it's funny.
entertaining.
They are. I mean, they're good movies. They're really, really funny. And I know, I just remember so I didn't watch the first Ant-Man for like a long time because I was pissed that they'd fridged Janet because I love Janet.
Mm.
I love her. So it like my own little like boycott, but then it like ended up being really good. And Colton saw it before I did. And he was like, Caitlin, like it was actually good. Like you were gonna like it was actually a movie I think he made me like sit down and watch. It's very rare for those of you listening that Colton like gets into pop culture things at all, or that he like really likes the movie enough to make other people watch it. Like that's just not something that
Hmm.
he does. So the
No,
fact that he was like, Caitlin, you have to watch this movie, I
we
think,
knew it was serious.
yeah, it says a lot. Anyways, we have I made up a really like cheap website using Card. So if you
Oh,
guys,
yes.
yeah, it is on AvengeGirls.carrd, card with two R's .co. It has our schedule on there if you guys are curious about, which specific movies from the MCU we'll be talking about.
I'm curious about that.
I sent it to you,
I lost it.
Gabby.
But what's the point if I can look it up so easily?
You lazy gremlin.
I am a gremlin.
So we did the first one, obviously, Captain America, First Avenger. This episode on Iron Man, what's going to come out on the 30th. If all goes according to plan.
Which is hopefully when you're listening to this.
Wink wonk. We're also going to do a really short Avengers 4 trailer discussion as soon as it comes out, whenever that'll be, because it'll be definitely this year.
Yep.
My guess is literally in the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. Then, so the next one after Iron Man, you can hear us on the 14th, December 14th, talking about Incredible Hulk and probably a little bit of Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to be talking as much about Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World because they're not as good movies in our opinion. But we did want to talk about them a little bit. And we also wanted to keep the schedule kind of short so we could get through all of the like main Avenger movies up until the release of Avengers 4. And since we're doing these bi-weekly, we had to cut a few of them. So we chose Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World to cut.
Yeah, I figure as long as we get the main the highlights in of those two, we should be okay.
Yeah. So next week, or not next week, but the week after that, bi-weekly, that should be interesting because Incredible Hulk, Gabry's never seen the Incredible Hulk.
I've never seen that, and I've only seen Iron Man 2 once, so I am excited.
It should be fun because I think both of them are kind of considered like the least favorite movies of most people next to Thor: Dark World. Yeah, so that should be fun. Hopefully we will also have a little soundbite from Brad, who is the
Hulk of the group.
Brad is also a, grad student in chemistry. So he's also just as busy as
constantly busy, yeah.
So he probably won't be here for the entire episode. We know that in advance. That's it, I think. We'll have a little soundbite from him. We'll talk about Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2, and we'll see you then.
Yep. AvengeGirls out.